Let's call the public,
Sorry.
no worries. Let's call the public hearing open. This is a public hearing for two separate area variances for 41 West Main Street. The two area variances are, one is a setback and one is an impervious surface area variance, okay? The general flow of tonight's meeting is we'll hear from the applicant. This hearing is a little different than some, because a lot of times we deal with a rejected building permit. This case, it is a referral from the planning board. Okay, so there's actually no denied building permit in this situation. So Tim has not made a decision. Our code enforcement officer has not made a decision on this as of yet, because it's just rolling to us through a recommendation through site plan review out of planning. Okay, so planning looked these over, said these don't pass code. Let's run a review through the ZBA, and that's why we're hearing today. Okay. My general feeling on the public hearing is basically we'll just hear about both at the same time, and I think we can distinguish the two different things pretty easily in our minds, right? All right. Great. So Hammond, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you're trying to do here and what your variance is for, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, first, thank you for meeting. I know what it takes to be on volunteer boards, and especially a nice night like tonight come out. My name is Gary Hammond. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for St. Lawrence Sons, which is our real estate entity, and what will be our business entity will be the Bet Being Brewing. The two variances we're looking at today, as you said, are the permeable surfaces and the setback. I've included the applications that I've sent in, and also a little bit of background, and try to answer the 5 questions that Conrad sent to me that you need to answer. So maybe start with the setback one first. As we were just talking, you can see on the drawing, that's kind of little, I guess. On the east side, we have 27 was the one that was
22.6, 7.8.
Yes. 22.5 on that side, 27.5 on that side. Be nice if I print it big enough so you see it.
Here, I think
Yeah, 22.6,
22.6.
Yep.
22.6, and 25 flat. Okay.
Exactly. Yes, yep.
Yeah.
So, while we meet the single setback of 20 feet on each side, we're lacking 2.5 feet for the minimum total setback of 50. My answer to my questions are kind of redundant, because they're just kind of like, it's existing condition. The barn in the building, been there, as we were saying, since they divided a lot for the Claxton. So there's not a lot I can do to move the building or shrink it. Tim had mentioned at one of our other meetings, one of the main reasons for those setbacks is fire safety access. And with the 22.5 feet, we have plenty for that, so there really shouldn't be any issues there. And again, this wasn't self-created, it was there at the time that we purchased it. As we were going through purchasing and everything, at the time, it was actually in the zone considered, they changed the zones, it's the GMU, it was in commercial, whatever they called it.
Commercial is C1. It was a quarter commercial, I think. Or was it?
We changed that amount too.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, when I was doing all this, I think both of them were on the website and stuff. We were Commerce Park, I think is what it was
Okay.
considered part of, but
I can look it up. Yeah.
not that it matters, because
Doesn't matter at this point.
doesn't matter, and I'm not even sure what the setback of Commerce Park was at the time, but that's where we are. It's just 2.5 feet on the one side,
Okay.
and that's on the Claxton Hepburn side.
Mhm.
The other one is for the permeability, which in the GMU now is 35%, and we have roughly 70%. If you go to the second and third pages, I kind of mapped them out to get square footage of the neighboring lots. They're all commercial lots, large parking areas, small green space. Hapern is at 72%, impervious surfaces. The US Army Reserve is at 60%, most of these lots at 61%, I didn't count all the stuff on inside the courtyard.
Yeah.
We got stuff in there too. We would be at about 70%, for the impervious surfaces. And this is primarily, well, it's just completely because, we need the lot size to meet our code for parking requirements for our business. With the lot as it is, we just meet the code, and then we also have an agreement with Claxton Hepburn to be able to use their lot for overflow parking. So we've got additional parking above and beyond code requirements.
I'm sorry, so basically you have enough parking spots as did in my code on your parcel, and you're just planning overflow for customer base?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Answering these questions here, I don't believe that it would consider create an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood, as the neighborhood is substantially the same. There's no really alternative to this, as it is, we need the parking spaces. Conrad had brought up the question in an email about impervious surfaces or pervious surfaces that we could use in place of asphalt. I did some research. You don't see them used a lot in commercial spaces up here for a number of reasons, cost primarily. And we've been looking at our parking as ways to try to reduce the cost, because it's very expensive even as asphalt. We were thinking about just starting out with stone, but that doesn't meet code because you have to have asphalt pavers or some other hard surface. What we're at right now, we've got about 17,000 plus square feet of parking. To pave it, it's gonna cost us roughly $62,000, so about $3.60 square foot. There is a product that's considered porous paving. Standard paving has about 6% permeability. Of porous paving would have about 16%. Again, it's not a product that you see around here. National averages are $7 to $13 a square foot for that product. With it not being readily available, you're probably gonna be up on the high side. But even if I took the middle of that at $10 a square foot, that would add $110,000 to our cost. It would make our paving be about $117,000. Permeable pavers, it just keeps going up. They range from $10 to $30 a square foot, and again, on the commercial side, you'd probably be towards the higher end. I use the middle on that, $20 a square foot. That would make our parking lot cost us $342,000, or an increase of $280,000. So we're since we started this project 2.5 years ago, we've gotten quotes from contractors now. We're getting everything as close as we can to go as we tie all these pieces together. And our budget has ballooned by almost $1 million just in labor costs and material costs. There's a lot of concrete work in the old barn, all the floors, a lot of restoration to the foundations and stuff. Concrete is darn near doubled in the last year and a half. So we're doing everything we can to bring this project to fruition, and its additional costs are something we're dealing with to make it feasible. So that's why it's kind of hard to look at a different product to cover. It'd be beautiful to have the old century-old barn with some, cobblestones up to it or something, but it's just not feasible.
Okay.
I don't believe also that the variance will have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. One thing nice around the lot, because there's two well-kept and newer property on either side. When they put those in, they're built up a little bit from us, and there's nice swales down both sides. And then there's also a swale in the drainage on the back side. So we have good water movement and flow from and around our lot. So I don't think we'll have any issues with water coming off our parking lot interfering with any of our neighbors. There is still grass and green space on both sides that we will maintain. So I think we'll be fine in that that aspect. This is a self-made need for a variance in that we're trying to bring this 100-plus-year-old barn back into use. It sat for over 11, 12 years as an empty space. We've been working to bring it back. We were successful with the village in getting a Restore New York grant to help with the costs. Otherwise, it would probably be a tear down. And what we are bringing is going to be significant tax, both in property and sales tax back to the village, and we're hoping we can get through everything and make this a reality this year.
Great. Thanks for that thorough explanation of what you're trying to do. That's good. At this point, before I ask you questions for the public hearing, I'm gonna open up for public comment. Any public comment? All right, the public is silent. I received no emails about this. So there is no weighing in from the neighbors or anything like that. Okay. Do you guys have questions for Gary about stuff? Actually, Gary, before we go, let's introduce the board because I don't think we actually, I mean, I don't know everyone here. I realize I just skipped that part at the beginning.
I'm Caitlin Gallagher.
Pete Beekman. Mike Snow.
And I'm Conrad Stone. Okay. And good. And you know Tim. And our other guest is, just so we don't have to sign you in, we have you on the recording. You are
Margaret Milk.
great. Thank you. Awesome. All right. So let's keep it as part of the public hearing. So basically what we'll do is we'll go through the public hearing, and then we'll go into a public meeting where we actually start talking about making decisions. Okay. The public hearing, I'll just like to put, make sure that we talk about some of the things you brought up. Setbacks, guys, anything that we want clarification on from Gary on the setback requirement side?
Your map.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
If you need, I could bring the plans down, you know.
I think that the request on the variance is pretty clear. With a building that's doesn't meet the setbacks of the lot lines. So basically, any further use of this building was gonna need a variance on the setbacks. Like basically, if we want to put a furniture barn back in, we probably still need a variance on the setbacks. Okay, all right, I don't have any further questions on the setback piece. Mike?
Nope.
Okay. The other one's more complicated. Okay. All right, this is the impervious surfaces, okay? All righty. Gary, when did you discover this issue?
As we're going through the site plan.
Just for site plan. Yeah. And when you were purchasing this property, did you research how many parking spots you're gonna need and that sort of thing? Was it just a site, basically you found a spot, you went with it, and then you planned your parking after that?
We planned rough size. We didn't have, our actual seating capacity and stuff down at that point, but we were estimating it based on square footage. Some of the space is divided up into. And actually, when we first started, we were actually adding space on for a kitchen because there wasn't enough square footage for both our brew space and our serving space. So it's, the flowing is
Yeah.
different things come up. But we had the measurement a lot and then, figured that we had enough space to put pretty much what we came out with here for parking.
Mhm.
I had figured that, the number of you need one parking spot per 4 customers and 1 parking spot per two employees, full-time employees.
Right.
And I roughly figured that myself, and then we came out very close when it got to the engineer and then blame it.
Okay, so basically you were on target in terms of your rough estimate, your back of the napkin calculations for what you need.
Yes. Yeah.
But basically it sounds like there was it fell through the cracks in terms of impervious surfaces.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And looking at the site plan, those your dumpsters out back, those pad sites for your dumpsters?
The back,
corners?
the white spot is the concrete pad.
Okay.
And I had talked to the engineer about different things to do that, but this concrete is that's being set up and down and dragged.
Oh, yeah, totally, that's brutal, that has to be.
Yep.
That has to be a pad for
Mhm.
that stuff. And so just, your bump out on that side and the parking lot in the front?
Where the stripes are,
Yeah.
that's basically to keep that side clear for, traffic coming in, deliveries and things like that.
Okay, I was gonna say, so that's any sort of raised thing, then trucks won't be able to back
No,
down.
that's just stripes.
That's just stripes, okay,
Yep.
cool, that's just painting, all right. So that's part of the impervious surface, okay. All right. Concrete pad on the west side of the building,
Yes,
and that is a future patio, is that what that is?
yes.
What's the square footage on that?
Don't have that right with me.
And that is a plan for part of the impervious surfaces calculation, correct?
Yes, yep.
Okay. And that front stoop is that the front part, is that a overhang or,
That is also concrete.
Concrete.
Yep.
and
for-
will that
for
be,
entrance.
will that be covered or just, is that basically part of the parking lot and part of the entrance?
Part of the entrance, there'll be a cover over the center entrance of the building.
Okay, more like a sidewalk, like basically so you'll get run by cars as you come up.
Yeah, yeah, and buffer from the parking lot.
Okay, you need, like, I'm sure you can get a feeling for what I'm thinking about, like various aspects of how we can look at minimizing our impervious surfaces by looking at the site plan. Okay, I'm sure you've looked at these already, but we'll talk about them. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we have the stripes, we have that. Now, talk to me about the swale lines along each side of the parcel. Are they, do you know if they are drained or not drained? Are they piped? Or are they just natural,
I think there's
flow of
piping
water?
off the backside, so the natural flow,
natural flow
Yep.
straight along the building to,
straight on property lines.
The south side?
Back, yeah.
okay?
And
And,
then there's some drainage there.
and that goes, do you know where that goes? Is that flowing into?
Down into the ground. That's actually
Off
on
the parcel.
triple A. That back corner is
Yep.
kind of a,
Yeah.
not wetland,
No,
but,
but it's marshy there.
yeah, it's grown up. It's
Yeah.
not maintained like the
Okay.
other grass around there and stuff. And,
Right.
It's
Mhm.
into there that
Okay, so,
most of the water goes.
so that sort of runoff is gonna dump into that wetland, into that, not that, it's not called a wetland, because it's not a wetland.
Right, no, it's just.
Because wetlands requires different.
Right, right, yeah, we don't wanna call it.
It's not a wetlands. The soft bit,
Yes.
okay? Yeah. It's a technical term, Jen.
So.
Yeah, that's, yeah, put that in notes. Okay, so the pitch of, the grade of the parcel right now is pushing water towards that corner of AAA and, the Army's thing, right?
Yeah, it's
That's-
off to the sides and to the back. We're actually below the road level. Somewhat.
Yeah, you are. And the current, call it driveway, it's there, it's just crushed stone.
It's broken pavement.
Okay.
Yeah, this is really old pavement,
Okay,
some grass growing through it and.
yeah, okay,
And whatnot. That would be equivalent to probably, the center of the driveway and maybe 3 of the spaces, on the
oh,
on the
wow,
west side.
okay. I mean, so we're tripling the amount of asphalt that will be down on the parcel, pretty much?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm guesstimating, no,
Yep.
okay. Tim?
Yeah.
Have you walked that back corner for drainage reasons at all? Have you looked at that?
I haven't walked it, but I've driven over there
Yeah,
and observed.
okay.
Um,
Is it standing water this time of year, or is it,
No, there's no standing.
Okay.
It's drains.
it does pretty well? I mean,
There's no ponding whatsoever, even like in heavy rains,
okay.
as far as I don't see.
Well,
it.
I hope not. I mean, but right now we have, quite a bit of open grass there that's gonna absorb.
Right.
And so we're changing the whole hydrodynamics of that lot, of that parcel.
Yeah, you do have, like it's on that west side, it does drain to the back, is that correct?
Mhm.
And then that goes over to AAA property, and then it continues to drain to the west some more, I believe.
Yeah, it turns, it comes back east towards Commerce.
Oh, does it?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I know there's some vegetation there that
They've got a little bit of a tree line, I think, there
Yeah, that's,
on the edge of their property.
Okay. All right. Okay, are you required by code to have concrete under your patio? If that's an eating space or a serving space, or can that be a more of a pervious brick or something else that can?
I don't know the answer to that. Could be a health department.
I don't know either. Okay, all right.
I would say, I don't know, it could be without, I would, be something I have to look up.
That's fine. Oh, that's
Could be-
that's no big deal. I mean, that was a question if you guys knew off the top of your head on.
We considered other options for there, again, as we're looking at costs, and really the concrete's the cleanest, because that's gonna be coming right into the dining area and stuff, if you're dragging any dirt, grass, or whatever, and it's gonna be and also a hazard to bring that in under the concrete.
It's pressure washed concrete. It's concrete lasts a long time. There's a lot of benefits of concrete. But we also have to look at all the stuff because the law says 35%.
Yep.
So we should go talk both ways. We're fine. Okay. Okay. You guys have any questions?
Question.
No, I have questions, but not for the applicant.
All right, cool. All right, we good with the public hearing part?
Mhm.
Okay, thanks. All right, we're gonna close the public hearing at this point. Now, that is the public hearing where we hear the application, we hear about the concerns, we hear any questions from the public. That was glorious. And now we tend to transition right into a public meeting where we basically discuss the application before us, and we talk about how we want to approach this and that sort of thing. By law, we have 62 days to come up with a decision.
Mhm.
Okay, after the public hearing. Public hearing was today. We have 60 days to create that decision. And then during the public meeting part, we might ask further questions, or we might just be talking about things. Okay, so just still fun spectators. Okay. Cool. All righty. Let's start our meeting, ZBA meeting, to discuss the applications for 41 West Main Street. Okay. Can we start with the side setbacks?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, side setbacks. We basically have our four tests, our 5 questions, okay?
Mhm.
Very nicely, the applicant like wrote down all their answers in numerical order. Let's go ahead and go through these. The variance is being requested because they would like to use the building. It's kind of how I see this. They are 2.5 feet short between them and Claxton Hepburn. Tim, do you know if Claxton Hepburn is at 25? What do you know the length of the setback from Claxton Hepburn's building to the lot line?
It's 22 feet, 6 inches.
Ours, like, no, that would be McCarthy. What about from the lot line to the back of Claxton Hepburn's building?
I don't know the distance.
I think that's about 15, maybe.
Okay, less than what would
Are
that?
you talking from Claxton?
Claxton to the lot line. So basically, so in theory, you'd have a 50-foot easeway between buildings, okay?
Correct.
Okay, and so the applicant's asking for a variance on the 22 feet, but I was wondering what the other side of the lot line is.
You can kind of see in the picture of the Google Maps from the
Mhm.
from the impervious surfaces application.
Yeah, that would be a fair estimate, because if you look at the scale, it's 1 inch is 20 feet.
Okay. So
That's a fair estimate.
okay. So about 15 feet, so we're at 40.
You do have about
Okay.
40 feet of space between,
The buildings.
between the buildings, but there's 22.6 to property.
Yeah, okay, cool. Alright. So that's basically what the variance is being asked for, guys. Is that it's being asked for that straight variance. Let's go through our questions, okay?
Mhm.
Do you think an undesirable change would be produced in character of the neighborhood or detriment of properties nearby if we had granted this variance? I don't think it's gonna change the neighborhood,
No.
one iota.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any other feasible, solution to other than getting a variance for this case? I don't think there's a feasible solution to this situation. Right?
Nope.
Making sure you don't move the building or something.
I'm good.
Is it a substantial request? 2.5 feet. I actually say it's not a substantial request. The next one, question 4, adverse impact on the physical environment and conditions in the neighborhood. That's basically, does it change the environmental impact? Does it change runoff? Does it change the snow removal patterns? Does it change anything else? Lot lines, sight lines? I can't think of anything that this changes. And self-created?
No.
No. Great, okay. So, can we vote on this one? All righty. So, after in consideration of 5 factors, we'll take an aye or nay vote. An aye vote says we feel that the benefit to the applicant does outweigh the detriment to the neighborhood of the community. Basically, it's all good. All right. And then we'll discuss any conditions if we have any. Okay. Caitlin.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Aye. It's unanimous. All 4 of us. All aye. Good. Any conditions to put into play to make this work? I can't think of anything. Okay. Great. I love those area variances. Those are fun. Okay. Good. And Gary, as I said, it'll take me, I was 62 days to write that up. It'll probably be faster on that one. And then basically this gets kicked. I will send it back to Barry and planning and Tim copy you on it. And then you'll go back before site plan review because you don't have site plan consideration on it yet. Okay. So next step out of the ZBA board, it goes back to site. Okay. Because you haven't gotten a site plan approval yet, right? Because they said.
Yeah, I thought they approved it based on,
Pending, they said they refuted to send it to us, but the issue is what if we put a condition in play that they're like, hey, you can't do that. So I think it should be like, basically, if things like with this one, it should be straightforward, like site plan, yeah, okay, we talk about that, move on, right? The impervious, we might be a more complicated issue, so. Yeah, and that's your understanding as well, correct? That goes back to site for final approval, because Barry has not approved it.
That was the understanding.
Okay, great, all right. All right, it's complicated when you get site plans, ZBAs involved. Impervious surfaces, all right. Okay, now. Questions, guys, what we got? What do you guys think?
Where did this, I probably should have done my research better, so I apologize, but where did the R35% come from? Is that, was that a change or has that always been that way?
The 70 versus 30, the 35 was put into play in this last round of zoning code adoption. Okay, I don't remember it being in play in 2020. My best recollection of that conversation was on recommendation from the consultant. You don't have
That's
anything,
correct.
yeah, so,
Previous code had lot coverage.
right, it was a different, like,
And they didn't, I don't think factored in, parking.
paving parking lots. That's it.
Now they factor in paving and roof. So if you have a.
the roof was very porous when we bought it. That
Impervious roof.
it's not a few percent.
Very
down.
impervious.
But have you not repaired it?
You need water for brewing, right?
Yeah,
There's an option.
right, water collection.
A green roof, that's what you need.
Yeah, so basically it was on recommendation of the consultant was basically, and it was an evolution of zoning code, right? So the other zoning code, as Tim said, had total lot coverage, right? And it was like, you can pay whatever you want. It was really just building. And with the evolution of zoning codes, it was basically saying, we need to think about
overall lot coverage because of the runoffs, because of the impact and the heat sinks and the impact to the environment of paving large areas.
And the different zones do have different impervious
Mhm.
requirements. Downtown mixed uses, you allow 70%,
Mhm.
Main Street allows 100%,
Mhm.
neighborhood mixed use, you allows 40%, education campus allows 35%. The DMU is the most restrictive.
It is. Yeah. And that is the most restrictive in this situation because it is supposed to be a mixed use environment, not straight commercial environment.
Mhm.
And that's why.
What's the percentage now? What's it at now? I know you, this would take it to 70. What's it?
Let's
at
see,
now?
there's the building footprint
No,
plus,
but existing, what's the,
yeah, lot coverage right now.
yeah,
It will be the size of the building footprint and whatever those 4 parking spots were.
okay,
So,
so it's small,
yeah, it's
yeah.
half, maybe?
yeah, okay.
What is it?
Yeah, I didn't calculate that from, I did this from, the Google Maps, so.
No, well, I'm guesstimating wise. I'd say. Yeah, I mean, if you say it's like. Right.
Yeah, just a little bit more than half.
Yeah.
We probably added just a little bit less than half to it.
Okay,
So say it's.
So it's going from 35
Somewhere
to
about, yeah,
35 to 70,
yeah,
okay,
if we guesstimate, so it's,
38 to 70.
yeah.
okay, all right, we'll give you 30.
Yeah, they're high.
But then the roof was leaking, so should we go back down to 33? Okay, 38 to 70,
All right,
so, okay,
yeah,
just said. Yeah, so it's. This is exactly one of those games we're encountering, right? Which is the new code. What is it like? That's what we encounter. This is why we get paid big bucks. All right. What else we got? Other thoughts on this one?
and just so on Claxton right now, is there,
So the surrounding parcels, based on the applicant's numbers, are well over the 35%.
right,
They are much more in line, I'd probably say, with more of a commercial.
Mhm.
Or even a downtown mixed use,
Mhm.
right? You know, so because Main Street, of course, is 100%, so you can pave everything. The downtown mixed use is 70%.
Mhm.
So. But our quarter commercial is 30, our technology business, like our general mixed use is 35.
Yeah, it's
Right.
interesting that, commercial corridor is only 30.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I just looking at that too. That's kind of an
Did you
interesting
think
one.
Yeah.
that you'd wanna,
You want to put down a big pad on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
like if anything big comes to town?
And then with Bosse's across the street must be.
Yeah.
Up there too.
Yeah, I mean, the applicant's saying 61%.
Like
Yeah.
if you had,
There's a color mapping kind of in the back of that one.
Okay,
Uh,
So I just cut that off with the Google map and figure out the square footage of the lot and then subtract the. square
Gotcha.
footage of-
Yeah. yeah,
And I did not include any of the,
yeah, so, I
interior
mean,
interior space that's open.
yeah.
right, so you have,
Mhm.
the surrounding 4 parcels are that way, right?
Mhm.
But then you go one more parcel over to your field, across the street to like, what is that now, a dentist or whatever's in the corner. Yeah.
Doctor's office.
Doctor's office
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
right? And that's like light, and then you have the rentals, which are all, residential
Right.
here. And back in here, over on the edge of Bosse's, you're back into residential.
Yeah,
So this is a little pocket here, which
Yeah.
has the impervious surface, high level impervious surface, even AAA has such a huge lot, they're probably, pushing closer. I can't imagine they're over 60.
yeah,
But I'm not sure, because they have all that parcel, like,
right.
goes all the way in their stuff, but they might be close. I don't know.
Mhm.
they probably have, they have a lot of green space.
They do a lot of green space.
Westgate Apartments, they're probably up there in the impervious surface when you calculate the roofs and the parking.
But who's that? Oh, and now does Westgate own the parcel in front of them? Or is that just a throughway to Westgate?
It's hard to say. I have to look that one up.
I love the hard to say parcels. Yeah, so it depends. If
Mhm.
they own that front one, then they're probably light, but if they don't own that front one, then they're like everyone else in the neighborhood, which is pretty high.
Yeah,
All right. All righty. Guys, can you think of anything that would
help alleviate.
On the, looking at this one on the right side, that's pavement because probably for fire codes, for a truck to get back there.
On the site plan.
Yeah,
That would be access to, the dumpster in the back corner and also for deliveries, to the kitchen on the back, and also there's a overhead door on the side of the barn where our grain deliveries will come in.
okay.
We'll get a couple pallets of grain. Every couple weeks.
So that, no, that couldn't come in from a rear entrance?
No, there's no access
Okay,
from the rear anywhere.
okay.
Is there a swale behind the building?
Yes, that's where the main drainage.
Drainage goes. Right.
And when they sold, they can see how they broke up that lot. Claxon actually wraps around the back side of our,
Yeah.
of our lot, so it's,
It's their property.
yeah.
Yeah.
At one time, that was all a contiguous lot until they broke it up with Claxon, so.
What about storm drains? Have we considered that?
Have
On,
we-
on the parking, Tim?
Yeah.
Let's, but that doesn't change the impervious surface calculation, does it?
No, but
Okay, so
I mean,
let's reserve that for like the next question, if we start thinking about pursuing that. And also we'll look for that site plan. 'Cause I don't know enough about storm drain runoff, so like one of the concerns we have.
Well, that would have been addressed by the engineer. They have to get, we had to have it surveyed and have all the elevations and stuff, and that comes into play with the,
The engineering side,
with the, yeah, with site plans.
they didn't feel that you needed them.
So hopefully they would put them
there is a storm drain that goes on the back of the lot that cuts through.
in. That's where basically all that water goes to.
Yeah.
The overhead.
That comes from AAA. I
Okay.
believe.
Storm drain sewer, okay.
And that goes to Commerce Land, I believe, somewhere.
Um. What do you guys think? Do you see any other solutions? Even coming from the back, they still need to pour all the way up to that side door, right? So you'll be changing that,
Yeah.
you'd only be
Saving
saving,
a small amount.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that basically for a complete change of your access point and renegotiation on the back parcel.
Yeah,
Um,
There are some parking lots, spots in the back, which will be.
Yep.
Employee and whatnot, so.
Yep.
You'd access there as well.
yeah, you have to keep those guys
Mhm.
as well as your dumpsters. Okay. One part about being on the ZBA is everyone comes in with reasonable requests, right?
Mhm.
They always feel reasonable.
Mhm.
But they're always asking for a change, an exception to the laws as they're written. And so our tough job is deciding whether the request that they have is a reasonable request.
Mhm.
Basically allowing a variance under the written laws of the locality, of the village.
We had purchased the building several months before. I don't know they would even require.
A little while before that,
I think we adopted this, when did we adopt this new code,
I
21?
think December
December, January 22.
31,
Yep.
2021.
Right. It would have still, whenever the site plan came in, it would have still had the new codes. But you would have had the argument would have been much stronger because you would have purchased under the previous codes. So the argument would have been not self-created issue. All right, sweet. Do you guys want to talk about the 5 test points? Do you want to ask any more questions? Think about the impervious surfaces calculations, I think.
I'm sorry, balloons just came up over the front of the screen and I don't know where they came from.
Awesome,
It was the most bizarre thing.
really.
Somebody watching and sending.
There's nobody on the participants list because I have a waiting room set up so that people couldn't Zoom bomb me this time.
This time.
And I don't know where those came from unless somebody wished somebody happy birthday on my texts. And it
That's the
just,
only, yeah.
that's the only thing I can
Yeah.
think, but I didn't get a text, so I don't know. That's what I was just checking. I'm sorry. Proceed.
Good sign.
Yeah.
We saw it.
Okay, it wasn't just me. I'm not crazy. Yeah. It's weird.
It's public comment.
Yeah. Balloon happens.
Yikes.
Okay. All right, is a variance being requested for increase of impervious, a variance of 35%, right? Doubling of the impervious surfaces. Okay. Tim, in your experience, have you encountered other impervious surface issues with the new code,
I think this might be my first. Well,
other than the one we had before, right?
yeah. On
Pleasant?
Pleasant,
Yeah.
that was,
That was what they wanted.
that
to put deck
wasn't
on.
as significant.
Nope. And we put on,
That was
that's residential.
and it was a existing lot of record, because it
Yeah.
it already had almost similar to this in a way where the lot was too small.
They just wanted to build.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I forget what that
We
That
allowed it
one,
and put up storm
these
drain
were,
and
these were
gutters.
the two,
Yeah.
that was my first impervious surface.
Right. And this is your second one.
Yeah.
This is so exciting.
Mm.
Nothing
Prior
impervious
prior
surface.
to that, I had lot coverage over on, I think, College Court.
So I feel like I need to take a class on impervious surfaces.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk about
do
it.
that. Yes, because my mind keeps thinking like, this does not. If this lot was already like this
Mhm.
prior.
Yep.
To that, and then. The new zoning laws went into effect, would some engineer or somebody say like, oh my God, this is an emergency. We need more drainage. Somebody's gotta bust up their parking lot so that we don't affect this entire ecosystem that we have here. Like, are we like in that level?
Would we
You
go
know what I
back and
mean?
fix something? No.
Or is it just like, well, it's not like the best, but I mean,
I
it
think
is what it is. So
I,
let's
I,
move on.
I think it's a vision towards a future, right? It is the idea, it is not the best. It is trying to maximize green space and minimize your impact to your neighbors by not paving Paradise and putting it in the parking lot.
Mhm.
And
And the neighbors are very, um, you know, beautiful to look at anyway.
you're right, the neighbors are gorgeous. The back of a hospital and the side of a, armory. But no, this is not something that I don't think that in this situation, if it had been paved at 70%, anyone would have come in and said, oh, no,
You gotta rip up half
Yeah,
the
yeah.
paving.
that's it.
Yeah.
No, this is just basically new code and best practices
Mhm.
and stuff like that. I mean, I think one of the things we can think about is basically, if we look at this parcel, how many other parcels in the village do we have surrounded by 60% paved parking lots? Like, does it, I'm not sure we have a lot.
Mhm.
Maybe out on Governor Street, but that's that quarter commercial.
You gotta think about Price Chopper and University Plaza, those are the big.
Yep. What are
areas.
are they quarter commercial? What are they?
They're commercial corridor.
Then they're 35%. Our new code,
Yeah, I think they're even less than.
30%. So we're really asking for a lot of open space on new builds. What we're asking for.
And then you gotta think about behind DSS. And well, that whole district might be. Well,
Out on County Route 310 or over by on State,
off of Judson
on
Street.
Judson Street right
That's
there,
it.
our backyard.
And then all the paving behind Main Street, of course, that is 100%.
That's 100%.
Yeah.
That's
That's meeting the code. That's why they made it 100%, because.
because it's paved.
Yeah.
It already is paved. Okay.
Just, I mean, when you look at, like, obviously there's green space, looking at the drawing to the right.
Yeah.
But when you just look at this cluster, it's. You know,
Right. I mean, and the thing is basically, I think that we're not gonna change the parking in front of the building. That's not gonna be touched. So is it gonna change the visual aspect from driving by?
no, it's just gonna go from a. You know, a crappy looking parking lot to a better looking parking.
Maintain parking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And are you right at the amount of parking spaces that you need?
Yes, yep.
It's not like you've got like 10 extra parking.
That's
So-
why we had to get going into it, with good, agreement with Claxton Hepburn just for the overflow. We've got just enough to cover our proposed seating for.
1 for 4. But so if a bunch of couples come in, you're gonna be maxing out. That's why you have the overflow, right?
Yep.
Basically,
You know, if somebody comes by themselves in the car, then all of a sudden, you know, you're 3 seats off basically, so you're gonna have more than that time when the parking lot's full plus the overflow.
Are you thinking when you use that overflow there, would it be in the back part behind your building mostly, or would it be?
Yeah, that whole wraparound, there's 50+ spots, on that back
That's probably
corner that's
more
away from their
view.
building, yeah.
Mhm.
Is it- How if they did access this, is this green space they go, or is there some?
We're actually gonna end up, with easement with them for utilities, because another issue we ran into is getting across 68, all the utilities, there's no utilities in that building right now, all the utilities are on the other side of 68. We would need DOT permits, but they're 8 months to a year out, plus we'd have to have 2 different, boring holes, we have to bore under 68, so it's a huge expense for that. Instead, we got a big expense, instead of a huge expense, we're gonna cut across Clacton Hepburn, and then we have to go down Commerce Ave to pick up sewer, about 540 feet. So, that's something we didn't anticipate. I mean, if we're in the village, yeah, we've got services, and not really, we don't.
not that site.
Yeah,
Okay.
So what I was saying, when we get that, we will have an easement, but on deed record with Claxton Hepburn, so at that point, we will also have this place where we will put, a way across. Pressure run, something very boring until we get to our paved areas, or our concrete areas.
All right. All right, what do you guys think? You wanna talk through more questions? What do you got, Pete?
no, I thought, I think I know where we're gonna have we're gonna have a problem,
Yeah, pretty much.
I think the other ones are,
Yep. We should go through one, you want
Yeah.
the easy ones first?
yeah,
All right. Undesirable change in the neighborhood. Nope,
no,
pretty much no. Okay.
so really isn't much of a neighborhood.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much dead at night.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any nightlife there. It's just not going to meetings periodically.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. You want to take number 2 now? When the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by feasible alternatives to the variance. Okay, feasible alternative. This is where I asked for the cost differential.
Mhm.
A tripling the cost is pretty
Substantial,
steep,
yeah.
you know. Now,
And it's our code that says it has to be a solid surface.
yeah, I mean, it has to be solid surface for the trucks and
Yeah.
for fire,
Yeah.
right? So it has to be, now, even if we went. If we
That
went,
would be New York State code.
okay,
Telling you.
Yeah,
yeah, but we can't play with that one.
no, okay, no, but it just.
Yeah. What about, so,
That'd be fire code.
okay. So we would have to reduce the parking lot. If it's 70% coverage, the building itself covers what percent of the lot? Like, how much of the parking lot coverage? Like, how much are we really talking about on the parking lot itself?
The total area coverage is 21,098 square feet. Building is approximately 3,900 square feet, and that puts parking at 17,198 square feet.
Okay, so we've 3,917. And so basically, if that's at a 21, and that is 70% of the overall lot size, right?
Mhm.
So to come down to 35%, we'd have to come down to basically a 10.5 coverage,
Mhm.
okay? Which means, and if we take off the 4 that we have for the building, okay? So we'd have to come down to a 6.5-ish, all right? Which is reducing the parking down to a third of the drawn size,
Right.
okay? All right. Now, so if we reduce it down to a third of the drawn size, we pave a third of it, and we use like a cheap eco whatever permeable paver or something like that, which is, so we do a third and 2/3 so a third at $4 a foot, right? And then 2/3 at triple that, called 12, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So it's 62K. First price was 62K. I'll keep a third of that the same. Okay, so keep that 21K at that. Okay.
Mhm.
Take the other 42, multiply by 3. We're still, we're tripling that 42,000.
Right.
Okay. Which is not quite at the, so that ends up being 140K. So it ends up basically doubling the cost of the lot.
Mhm.
Okay, ish, right, ish, okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Then other considerations, if you start changing those services and you're gonna have issues when you're crossing them, winter plowing,
Mhm.
ice maintenance,
Yep.
safety for pedestrians and people walking across it.
Yep. All the stuff that goes into changing the surfaces between two layers, okay?
Mhm.
And the question that I was looking at there was there a way to do that
Yep.
economically? Okay. Because it wasn't sounding very economical to triple it. What was the numbers, what were we looking at if we start, just doing part of the lot with a permanent paver?
Mhm.
Okay, and we're not, I mean, that's not getting into like the argument that says basically there might not be the expertise locally to manage that.
Right.
I mean, we live north.
Yeah.
All right,
Is there any specification for the permeability? Because asphalt is 6% permeable.
that's a good question.
What makes permeability?
Tim?
That's, actually, that information,
Porous asphalt is 16% permeability.
Right,
Even when you're looking at the pavers, most of the permeability comes from your seams.
yeah, the gaps,
Yep.
yeah.
And so what's the engineer permeability once that's packed and driven over for a few years, and then the next fresh stone in between, it gets packed down, is what are you really gaining for permeability?
Yep. Good questions. I don't know.
That's why some of the numbers, it ends up in
Yeah,
those,
but
I
that's-
understand if we're in the middle of a park and wanted to, pave
But
a park.
at the end of the day, like, we have to talk about the impermeability. We know asphalt doesn't match that. I'm not sure what the other options are. So we need to talk about the feasible alternatives. And that's, we have to make sure that we cover all these bases. To be fair.
Right, well, that's my question, what is permeable?
And that's something we can defer to. We can research that and come back to that question too.
Basically, it's a definition in the, one of the definitions is impervious surface.
All right, that's fine with how we define impervious surfaces in our code. Impervious surface, any hard human-made area that does not readily absorb or retain water, including but not limited to building roofs, parking, and driveway areas, paved or gravel. Sidewalks, patios, and paved recreation areas. Okay. So we use a permeable paver
Man-made.
that's going to,
hard
does that even match what we need? I would argue that may not, right?
Yeah.
All right, so here we are. Good talking around that to get back to the idea that basically we have to shrink their parking lot down to, tiny in order to match the requirements. Great. Well, that's one option. Not if we want them to build. Okay, so let's talk about this. Okay, all right. Can the benefits sought by the applicant be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance? We put down grass, make park in the mud. That's not really good.
No.
That's not really an option. Okay. Can you guys think of a feasible alternative? Drawing blanks. Anything we're not thinking of, Mike?
What's that?
Anything we're not thinking of?
No.
Nothing coming to you? Okay. Whether the requested variance is substantial. They're asking for a variance of 35, of doubling the impervious surfaces. Is that a substantial request?
Very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the surface, yeah, it is.
Yeah, flat out. And
Yeah.
the applicant actually in their argument says it is a substantial request.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone can argue it's not a substantial request.
Yeah.
The nice thing about area variances, and Gary, this is for your information, basically, on an area variance, you can fail a couple tests and we can still pass you. On a use variance, you can't fail any tests. So a use variance is a different beast. If we fail one point,
Done.
then it's done. Area variances, it's more of a conversation and then an evaluation by the board about whether this should be allowed. Or not. Okay. Okay. Substantial? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's-
Okay. Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood? This is where we get into runoff, snow removal, all the things that basically would create a change in the neighborhood. Now, it's just the variance though, right? We're only talking about the extra 35% of lot coverage, which, is, most of the parking lot. Okay, so basically does that change the environmental impact of the neighborhood?
Just looking at where they are situated,
Mhm.
I would say, no, I mean, in some ways, for me, it would improve the aesthetic of the neighborhood.
Yeah, a nice parking lot's gotta look better than what's there.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. Mhm. My only concerns are runoff.
Yeah.
I don't manage that runoff because right now it handles it, right?
Mhm.
But we are only covering,
How can we make that decision on the runoff, so how?
The only thing we can talk about is basically making sure that it's managed. It was basically asking, planning to be like, look,
Oh,
can you
okay.
plan for runoff? Like, talk to the engineers, but this is our concern,
Right.
right?
Is there some way to
Right.
move the water from here to the back where
Can-
there is good drainage?
Can we verify that that much runoff, and that storm drain or whatever's back in here can handle that?
Right,
That's my only concern, right? Is basically we are taking a ground coverage which can absorb a lot of water at this point, and we're changing to an area which can absorb water.
Mhm.
And this is like, what we don't want to have happen either, is this whole parcel. Well, let's hear if I think about plowing patterns, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Gary, you thought about plowing patterns on your parking lot?
Yep, it's been plowed this winter.
Okay, so the full-size parking lot, where would the snow piles be pushed?
The front's probably towards the Hepburn side because there's more
Okay.
space there between the lines.
Yeah,
And then just off the back, because there's still quite somewhat grass out behind there,
so back here, so basically come around the dumpster
Yep.
and dump
which is
there.
right closest to the main drainage.
Yeah, so basically that's right in the drain. Okay, so the only concern I would have is basically how does this area handle it, which if we've been plowing, then it might absorb it just fine.
Mhm.
But
As far as the runoffs and stuff, I believe that's addressed in some of the architectural site plans.
it should be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It should be, but that's not like, that would be for the impervious surfaces conversation. That's something that, I would kick that back to planning, but like, just make sure. Planning.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
I mean, planning should make sure of that, because that's what planning does.
Right.
But from our perspective, it's like, do we allow the variance? This is our concern. Plan, take a look at it, make it so.
Yeah,
And that's between
kick it
planning.
to a higher.
Yeah,
authority.
exactly. Kick it to someone else who does this more often than we do.
Yeah.
And so, as you said, don't look at, because that's what architects do. That's great. But that would be something that's outside of our purview. Like,
Mhm.
what's the question? Okay. Okay. All right. Not hearing a lot of like concern about the environmental or physical impact, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Was it self-created?
Like, I wanna say yes, but no.
Yeah.
Cause like, what is the alternative to this parcel? Like, anybody else that bought it, what would they do with it?
Tear it down.
Not like a house.
Yeah, I'm not, like, maybe, it's a lovely site for a house, but this is why it's sat for 12 years too.
Yeah,
I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. But was it self-created? Codes were in play. When the parcel was purchased, the parking requirements were in play. The information was there, right? It may have been confusing on the website, but these codes were adopted. The amount of lot coverage, not self-created, right? Like the fact you have to have this parking for this sort of usage, not self-created.
no,
Purchasing this parcel with these requirements and planning to put this building here, I would say that is self-created.
Mhm.
But that's like, we're human.
well,
Yeah, come on. I mean, we make mistakes sometimes. We look at something like, oh, drat, missed that detail. Okay, all right. And also the thing is, if you assume that this is in a downtown mixed use or Main Street, the coverage at 70% will be fine.
yeah, given what is already there,
Right, you might,
but you just
Yeah.
make the wrong assumption.
what do you think about the self-creation?
Well, I think anytime you buy something, you're kind of self-creating it.
Yeah.
The people, but again, I don't know, it's kind of a catch-22. I mean, they have to have parking spots. And.
They have to be paved.
Right.
Yeah, we established that.
Yeah,
Yeah, take care of that problem.
yeah,
And I think since the surrounding lots, I mean, it's easy to just assume that this is allowed,
Right,
you know what I mean?
it's
That's
easy mistake to make,
yeah.
but whatever, if every applicant walked in and said, I just made a mistake, then, that's a tough one, right?
Yeah.
We'll put a maybe on self-created. What do you guys think is self-created? I mean, it's kind of like the purchase of the parcel, that in many ways it is self-created.
I just, if you just go with the sort of the basic interpretation, it's hard to say that it wasn't. I mean, you bought the parcel, you could have bought a different parcel. You bought that one. And, because the location is good.
It's in the village.
It's,
available.
it's a building that I'm sure when it's done, it'll be, a pretty neat place, a pretty nice place.
Right.
So I could see how you get sort of swayed by what the potential of what it can be
Right.
and just press forward.
Right.
Versus tearing it down and just building a box.
And the thing is, I think even tearing it down and trying to build something, you couldn't have got your parking spots in this lot.
Right.
This lot wouldn't have worked for this
Right.
usage.
Yeah.
So any sort of commercial usage in this building, well, wait, maybe a furniture store wouldn't have to have as many parking spots.
Yeah.
But with modern site plans, you probably have to have your dumpsters pad. It's
Mhm.
like, you'd have to have it doesn't could this parcel be used in any other way and not overpave?
Right.
That's I mean, we're already at 4,000. 35% of the 21,000. I mean,
Yeah, it's a difficult lot to do anything, I think, from a commercial.
Right.
And who's gonna build a house there?
right. I mean, that's
Oh, next to an army.
yeah.
Army will be pretty safe.
I'm safe here, or I can go right to the hospital.
Gotta break on the homeowners, yeah. Hospital right next door.
And if I need any renovations, I'll go in my backyard.
Yeah,
Got it all.
got it all covered.
Yeah.
Do it at night, so Tim doesn't see you.
Right.
Across.
That's right.
Actually, the more you talk about this, this sounds like a nice place for a worry wart like me. So,
Yeah, I just been trying to buy everything.
My kids that are always sick.
All right, so, we decided it wasn't really an undesirable change in the neighborhood. We didn't think it could be met by any feasible alternative.
Yeah.
Okay, we felt like it was a totally substantial variance, okay? We felt like it didn't really create any physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood, okay? But we did feel it was pretty self-created. Okay, sweet. All right, now, is there anything that we want to send the applicant back with or to planning for further questions before we make a vote on this? Are there anything else that we want to delay, research, and come back on? Are we pretty comfortable pursuing that vote tonight?
I am, yeah.
I'm ready to go.
All right, cool. What I'd like to do is, let's discuss conditions after voting, if there are any conditions, okay?
Mhm.
And that way, basically, you can vote, with basically, I want to have this condition, then we can adjust or modify as we need to, okay? All right. All right, so an I vote would allow, this variance to proceed. Actually, yeah, an I vote would allow this variance to proceed, an A vote would deny the variance, saying you don't feel it's acceptable in the situation. And then we'll talk about conditions, okay? So, Pete, you want to go first this time?
Yeah, I thumbs up.
All right,
Yeah.
Mike,
Aye.
Galen?
Aye.
Okay, there we are. All right, and that's I votes allowing that variance, or conditions now, before we get great, it's all excited, runs right out of here. Let's talk conditions.
I would, to the point you made earlier, that kicking it back to this, the site plan, just for them to confirm that all the runoff issues have been, looked at, and whatever the architects have drawn up, they have, said this is fine.
Okay, so basically, I will write a condition, basically, that there is a site plan and architectural review of possible runoff implications.
Mhm.
Okay, and they've already done it, but I'd like to make sure that's double checked. Okay, all right. All right, so we'll put that condition in play, and I'll make sure that Barry, the chair, planning follows up on that one. Okay. Are there any other conditions we feel we need to put in play on this one? Nope, we're good?
Yeah.
All right, great. All right, well, that closes tonight's meeting. Thanks so much for your time, guys. That is the two area variances on West Main. As I said, 60 days first, a actual decision. I'll try to get much faster than that, so I can go right back to planning. It's probably you, I'll probably Barry, and I'll probably 10 on theirs.
Going back to planning, it'll take some time to get it.
We want to get back, like, I'll do my best.
Yeah.
Right,
If we miss this, the construction season,
no, it's not good. So when I get
we,
back.
we lose our funding from New York State
grant.
projects then.
Mhm. Yep.
What's your deadline?
December. I'm gonna give you 2 years, and the year's already gone by just through the planning process. We've got a contractor waiting for contracts. They've got men coming free and they can get in there this trade.
When are you hoping to break on, when are you hoping, when is the site gonna be viable for you to start to get trucks in there? Like, are you waiting for the ground to be soft? Are you waiting for?
The ground is soft.
Yeah,
The initial work is all inside, the entire floor is gonna be, concrete's gotta be taken out, still broken concrete, so, yeah, they were. When we were talking to them in November, said we could come in February, I said, that's not gonna happen, but, they're not waiting for any other site conditions to go, so.
Also, I can get over to Barry next week and hopefully Barry can get a planning board meeting scheduled at all.
We do not, yes, March 25th.
Okay, it's a month out.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I'll send it off to Barry and see what Barry's situation is, okay?
Okay.
And go from there. That's all I can do, okay?
Yep.
So, but it sounds like it could probably, I'm not gonna talk for Barry, but we might be able to squeeze in the 25th. And yeah, who knows? Okay,
we have that night is a public hearing and a meeting for, trying to remember,
that's a bigger one.
the archway, the stuff out here, bike rack and archway that they want to put in.
Okay.
That should be pretty straightforward, but, so I don't expect that it would take a long time and we should be able to squeeze in this because it sounds like it won't
It's
be a
Not
lot
like they
to
haven't
it.
seen it yet.
It's the second
Right.
building.
Yeah.
They've already
So
discussed it.
I would expect that would be at the latest you could get in for that meeting, if not sooner.
Yeah, so I'll,
But that's just my.
we'll go from there. We'll contact Barry and go from there. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Sounds good.
Any questions? Awesome.